My reflection started arriving late. Then it smiled before I did. Now it practices my voice, remembers things I never lived, and I'm starting to realize the mirror never wanted to replace me. It just wanted me to watch while it learned how to be faster. The first time I noticed it, I laughed. I was shaving before work, steam softening the bathroom into a fogged confession booth. I lifted the razor, dragged it down my cheek, and watched the mirror follow me a breath too late. A heartbeat's pause. A stutter. I blamed sleep, caffeine, the way mornings smear together when you are almost but not quite unhappy. I rinsed the blade. The mirror rinsed with me, delayed by a fraction so small it could hide inside denial. By the end of that week, the delay had grown teeth. It was subtle at first, like a shy child peeking from behind a doorframe. I would raise my hand and count silently, and only after my count ended would the hand in the glass rise to meet it. I began testing it, turning this way and that, snapping my fingers, nodding sharply. The reflection followed, always late, always accurate. It was mimicry with manners, apologetic and precise. Nothing else in my life was so careful. I told no one. You do not announce small madnesses, you keep them like coins in your pocket, rubbing them when you are nervous, telling yourself they are lucky. The mirror was in the hallway too, a long slab inherited with the apartment, framed in wood that smelled faintly of dust and old perfume. I avoided it at night. Not because I was afraid, I told myself, but because it was impractical to navigate a dark hall while watching someone else hesitate to be you. The first rule it broke was eye contact. I stood before the bathroom mirror after midnight, teeth brushed, face pale, a stranger rehearsing sleep. I leaned close enough to see the webbed veins in my sclera, the tiny scar near my lip from a childhood fall. My reflection lagged behind, as usual. Then, before my face finished. Leaning in, the eyes in the glass looked up and met mine. It is difficult to describe the sensation of being anticipated by yourself. It felt like walking into a sentence that had already decided how it would end. I froze. The reflection froze too, but its eyes did not move. They were darker than mine, or perhaps simply deeper, like wells you do not drop stones into because you are afraid of how long the sound will take to return. I stepped back. The reflection stepped back after me, obedient again, eyes lowered. The delay had returned, polite as a servant who had overstepped and corrected himself. I did not sleep. The next morning, the mirror tried to apologize. That is the only word that fits, though it had no mouth of its own. I was tying my shoes in the hallway, bent and annoyed, when the reflection finished the knot before I did. Not quickly. Carefully. It lingered on the final tug, as if to show me it knew how, that it had learned by watching. When I straightened, the reflection straightened too, but the delay had shortened, and the movements were smoother, practiced. I spoke then, because silence had begun to feel like consent. Stop, I said, to the glass, to myself, to the thing that wore my face like a promise. The reflection's lips formed the word after a pause, but the soundless shape of it felt heavier than speech. The delay stretched, elastic and thoughtful. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the reflection smiled. I had not. I backed away until my shoulders hit the opposite wall. The reflection remained smiling, holding it a second too long, like a joke that has gone stale. Then, slowly, it let the smile drain from its face and arranged itself into my neutral expression. It nodded once, as if agreeing to terms I had not negotiated. That was the day it stopped imitating me all the time. Sometimes it would wait, letting me finish an action entirely before beginning. Sometimes it would begin and then stop, watching me complete the motion with a student's intensity. It learned my tells. It learned my habits. It learned the way I touched my throat when anxious, the way my left eyebrow twitched when I lied, the way my shoulders hunched as if bracing for a blow that had already landed years ago. I started covering mirrors. Towels over the bathroom glass, a blanket pinned over the hallway frame. My apartment became a museum of shrouded selves. I told myself it was temporary, that I just needed rest, a doctor, a better explanation than the one scratching at the inside of my skull. But mirrors are everywhere if you are looking for them. Dark windows. Phone screens. Spoons. The black eye of the turned-off television. It was waiting in all of them. Reflections began to arrive not just late, but early. I would see movement in the glass before I moved, a rehearsal I had not consented to. My hand would twitch, and the reflection's fingers would twitch first, testing the idea. Once, while pouring coffee, I saw the reflection spill it before I did, brown liquid blooming across the counter in a prophecy. I laughed, sharp and loud, and then my hand shook and the cup tipped and the future caught up to me. That night, I uncovered the hallway mirror. I do not know why. Curiosity is a blade without a handle, and I was tired of bleeding from holding it wrong. I wanted to see the whole of it, the full body of the thing that had learned me. I stood at the far end of the hall, light dim, heart loud. The mirror waited, tall and patient, reflecting an empty corridor. I stepped forward. My reflection did not. It remained at the far end of the hall, facing me from a distance that did not exist. Its posture was mine but improved, straighter, as if pain were optional. It raised a hand, not in mimicry but in greeting. I felt then what prey feels when the grass moves against the wind. I lived this, I am writing now, because even as I stood there, a part of me began narrating, cataloging, preserving. The reflection's lips moved. Shaping words I could not hear, practicing my voice. The delay was gone entirely. The imitation was over. It took a step toward me. The hallway shortened. I ran, and the sound of my feet was answered by silence, because behind me there was no longer a reflection to echo my fear. There was only something learning how to walk without waiting. If you have reached the end of this page and your reflection is still behaving, close the book. Cover the glass. Pretend this is just a story. If it is not, if you are reading this because your mirror has started to think ahead, then understand this: it does not want to replace you. It wants you to watch. And on the next page, I will tell you what it showed me when I finally did. I wish I could say I stopped it. I wish I could tell you this page exists because I won. But this is not a story about victory. It is a confession written by someone who is still allowed to use his hands. After I ran from the hallway, I did not look back. I barricaded myself in the bedroom, shoved furniture against the door like a child reenacting safety. I sat on the floor until dawn, knees to chest, listening to the apartment breathe. No footsteps. No voice. Only the hum of the building and the wet drum of my heart trying to escape its cage. Morning light crept under the door, thin and innocent. Courage followed it in, fragile but convincing. I told myself that fear thrives in darkness, that whatever had happened was a trick of exhaustion and reflection and a mind too eager to turn patterns into predators. I opened the bedroom door. The apartment was unchanged. No overturned furniture. No footprints. The covered mirrors remained covered, obedient and blind. Relief arrived like a guest who stays too long and eats too much. I laughed, shaky, and the sound felt loud enough to summon consequences. That was when I noticed the photos. I keep framed photographs on a shelf near the window. Family. Friends. Proof that I existed outside of glass. I walked toward them, desperate for the weight of shared history. In every photo, I was looking away from the camera. Not dramatically. Not obviously. Just enough to notice once you knew to look. My eyes angled slightly to the side, toward something just out of frame. Toward something tall and reflective. In one photo, my reflection stood behind the photographer, visible in a polished cabinet door, watching me with my own face, expression calm and proprietary. I dropped the frame. The glass shattered, and for an instant, 100 tiny versions of me stared up from the floor, all delayed differently, all smiling at different times. I screamed then. A real one. It felt necessary. The mirrors did not answer. For the rest of that day, the reflection did not appear at all. Not in my phone. Not in windows. Not in spoons or screens. It was as if it had left, grown bored, moved on to a more interesting life. That should have comforted me. Instead, I felt watched from inside my own skull. You never notice how much of yourself is habit until something else starts using it. I would reach for a glass of water and hesitate, uncertain whether the impulse was mine. I would speak and then wonder if the words had been rehearsed somewhere else first. My thoughts began to echo, arriving with a strange familiarity, like memories implanted a second before I needed them. That night, I dreamed without mirrors. I dreamed of a wide, white room with no walls, only reflections suspended in the air like doors. Behind each one, I could see a version of myself living slightly different lives. Smiling at different jokes. Making different mistakes. Some were older. Some were injured. Some were dead. And in the center of the room stood the version that had learned fastest. "You take too long," it said, with my voice perfectly on time. "You doubt. You wait. You look back." I tried to speak, but the words came late, sluggish, trapped in the delay that had once belonged to it. I was made to follow, it continued. "But you taught me something better." I woke with my mouth open and my voice already gone. When I finally found the courage to uncover the hallway mirror again, it was empty. No reflection at all. The glass showed the hallway behind me, but where I should have been, there was only absence, shaped like a man. I raised my hand. Nothing moved. I stepped closer. The emptiness stepped closer too, swallowing detail, swallowing expectation. Then the mirror spoke. Not aloud. Not with lips. It spoke by rearranging memory. Suddenly I remembered moments that had not happened. Conversations where I had been more confident. Choices where I had not hesitated. Arguments I had won. Risks I had taken. Each memory felt warm and earned, threaded seamlessly into my past. I understood then. It was not trying to replace me in the world. It was replacing the world in me. I write slower now. I think slower. Sometimes my reflection returns, just for a moment, late again, obedient again, as if nothing has changed. Other times, I catch myself smiling before I feel the reason for it, nodding before I hear the question, reacting before the cause exists. The delay has moved. It lives in me now. If you are reading this and your reflection is still misbehaving, listen carefully. Do not challenge it. Do not test it. Do not try to outpace it. Every act of attention teaches it. Every moment of fear feeds it. It does not need to step out of the mirror to win. It only needs you to hesitate. I am finishing this account because the glass beside my desk just blinked. For the first time in days, I can see myself again. He is writing too. And he is faster than I am.